The silent arrival. The Cygnus Nebula burned with the fire of 1,000 dying ships. Purple and gold clouds of cosmic gas swirled around the battlefield like ancient witnesses to destruction. Two alien empires had chosen this beautiful place to unleash their ugliest weapons upon each other. The Kathrani Dominion held the left flank. Their ships were long and elegant, covered in silver armor that reflected the nebula's colors. The Kathrani were an ancient race with 4 arms and skin like polished stone. They believed they were chosen by the stars to rule this sector of space. The Voryx Collective held the right flank. Their vessels were dark and angular, built for one purpose only. The Voryx were tall creatures with thin bodies and eyes that glowed like burning embers. They trusted nothing except strength and viewed mercy as weakness. For 50 years, these two empires had fought over the same patch of space. Millions had died. Planets had burned. Neither side could remember why the war started anymore. They only knew they had to win. Supreme Commander Drathos stood on the bridge of the Kathrani flagship, the Eternal Light. His 4 hands moved across tactical displays as he watched his fleet engage the enemy. Plasma fire lit up the darkness. Shields flickered and failed. Ships exploded into clouds of metal and bodies. "Push forward," Drathos commanded. His voice was calm despite the chaos around him. "The Voryx are weakening. I can feel it." His officers obeyed without question. The Kathrani fleet surged forward, pouring everything they had into the attack. Victory seemed close enough to taste. On the opposite side of the battlefield, Voryx War Master Krenix watched the same battle from a very different perspective. His flagship, the Obsidian Fury, shook as enemy fire struck the shields. Warning lights flashed across every console. "They are desperate," Krenix growled. His ember eyes narrowed with hatred. "Desperate enemies make mistakes. Target their command ship. End this today." The Voryx fleet responded with savage efficiency. A wall of missiles launched toward the Eternal Light. The space between the two fleets became a hurricane of death and fire. Neither commander noticed the small blinking light on their sensor screens. Neither fleet detected the massive energy buildup forming behind them both. They were too focused on destroying each other. Deep in the crossfire, trapped between the two raging fleets, 3 civilian ships drifted helplessly. These were not warships. They were refugee transports carrying thousands of innocent beings who had tried to flee the war zone. A Kathrani medical frigate filled with wounded children. A Voryx trading vessel carrying families who wanted no part of the conflict. And a small neutral ship from a species called the Mellori, peaceful merchants who had simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time. The captain of the Mellori vessel, a gentle creature named Sorith, held her crew together with words of hope. "Someone will come," she whispered. "Someone always comes." But no one came. Both fleets ignored the distress signals. Both commanders considered the civilians acceptable losses in their glorious war. Then the universe changed. A crack appeared in space itself. Not a normal hyperspace window. This was something far more powerful. Reality seemed to fold and bend around a single point behind both fleets. The energy readings were impossible. The signature was unlike anything either alien species had ever recorded. "What is that?" Drathos demanded. Fear crept into his voice for the first time in decades. "Unknown anomaly," his sensor officer replied with trembling hands. "The energy output is... Commander, I cannot measure it. It exceeds our instruments." On the Obsidian Fury, Krenix experienced the same confusion. "Identify that signature immediately," he barked. His technicians worked frantically. Then one of them went pale. Her ember eyes dimmed with pure terror. "War Master, it matches no known Kathrani or Voryx technology. The pattern is... Terran." The word struck the bridge like a physical blow. "Terran. Human." The crack in space exploded into brilliant white light. Something emerged from the impossible energy. Something massive. Something ancient. Something that made both alien fleets look like children playing with toys. The human warship was called the Adamant Resolve. It was 3 kilometers long, covered in dark gray armor that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Blue energy lines ran across its hull like glowing veins. It moved with silent grace, positioning itself exactly between the two alien fleets. Every gun on both sides turned toward the newcomer. Thousands of weapons locked onto the human vessel. But no one fired. No one dared. Drathos stared at the human ship with wide eyes. "I thought humans stayed neutral," he whispered. "I thought they never involved themselves in alien conflicts." His first officer swallowed hard. "They do not, Commander. Unless... Unless what? Unless someone gives them a reason." Across the battlefield, Krenix felt something he had not experienced in 50 years of warfare. Real fear. The Voryks respected strength above all else. And the legends about human strength were terrifying. Stories passed through the galaxy like ghost tales. A single human destroyer had once stopped an invasion fleet of 300 ships. Human soldiers fought with tactics no alien mind could predict. Human engineers built weapons that defied known physics. And humans protected the innocent with a fury that bordered on madness. They will not interfere, Krenix said, trying to convince himself. This is not their war. But deep inside he knew he was wrong. The adamant resolve stopped moving. It hung in space like a judge looking down at two criminals. Every sensor on both fleets tried to scan the human ship. Every scan failed. The humans had technology that made them invisible to alien instruments. Then the message came. Every screen on every ship in both fleets flickered. A human voice spoke in perfect Kathrani and perfect Voryk simultaneously. The translation was flawless. The tone was cold and absolute. This is Captain Helena Vance of the Terran Protectorate vessel Adamant Resolve. You are engaged in hostile action within a designated civilian protection zone. 3 non-combatant vessels are currently trapped in your crossfire. You have 60 seconds to cease all weapons fire and power down offensive systems. This is your only warning. Silence fell over both fleets. The kind of silence that comes before storms. Drathos felt his heart's racing. 60 seconds. The humans had given them 60 seconds to stop a war that had lasted 50 years. This is outrageous, he said. They cannot command us. We are the Kathrani Dominion. But his voice sounded weak even to his own ears. On the Obsidian Fury, Krenix faced the same impossible choice. Obey the humans and appear weak before his enemies. Refuse the humans and face consequences no one could predict. War Master, his weapons officer said quietly. Our long-range sensors detected something. Before the human ship fully emerged, there were energy signatures behind it. More signatures. Many more. Krenix felt ice spread through his body. How many? Unknown, War Master. But if the readings were accurate, there may be an entire human fleet waiting just beyond our sensor range. The countdown continued. 50 seconds. 40. 30. On the trapped refugee ships, Captain Sorith watched her screen with tears in her eyes. Someone came, she whispered. Someone actually came. The human ship waited. Patient. Silent. Absolute. Both alien commanders faced the hardest decision of their lives. And the clock kept ticking. The reckoning. 20 seconds remained on the human countdown. The battlefield held its breath like a living creature waiting for thunder. Supreme Commander Drathos gripped his command console with all 4 hands. His mind raced through options. Attack the humans? Impossible. Their technology was legendary. Ignore the warning? Dangerous. Humans never made empty threats. Obey? Unthinkable. The Kathrani Dominion bowed to no one. Commander, his first officer said carefully, perhaps we should consider? Silence, Drathos snapped. I am thinking. On the Voryks flagship, War Master Krenix faced the same terrible choice. His ember eyes burned as he stared at the human ship. The Voryks collective had conquered dozens of species. They had never retreated from any battle. But they had also never fought humans. The legends echoed in his mind. Human soldiers who fought until their last breath and then kept fighting. Human ships that appeared from nowhere and vanished just as quickly. Human commanders who protected civilians with more fury than most species showed in total war. 10 seconds remained. A young Voryks officer spoke up. War Master, if we refuse, what happens? Krenix did not answer. He did not know. And that terrified him more than any enemy fleet. The countdown reached 0. Captain Helena Vance stood on the bridge of the Adamant Resolve. She was a tall woman with silver hair cut short and eyes the color of winter storms. 30 years of service had carved lines into her face, but those lines spoke of wisdom rather than age. She had fought pirates and rescued colonies and negotiated treaties with species who had never trusted anyone. She was not a soldier who enjoyed violence. She was a guardian who used violence only when necessary. Time's up, her tactical officer reported. Neither fleet has powered down. Vance nodded slowly. She had expected this. Proud species rarely surrendered quickly. They needed to understand. Target the Kathrani weapons array, she ordered calmly. Precision strike. No casualties. Show them what we can do. The Adamant Resolve fired a single shot. Not a massive barrage. Not a devastating assault. Just one perfectly aimed beam of energy that crossed the battlefield in less than a heartbeat. The shot struck the Eternal Light's main weapons battery. It did not destroy the Kathrani flagship. It simply disabled it. Every gun on the ship went dark. Every missile system shut down. The targeting computers crashed. The mighty warship was suddenly helpless. Drathos stared at his dead weapons console with horror. "That is impossible," he whispered. "Our shields were at full power." His engineer's voice shook as she answered. "Commander, the human weapon passed through our shields like they were not there. It targeted only our weapons systems. Nothing else was damaged." The precision was terrifying. The humans could have destroyed the entire fleet. Instead, they had simply proven a point. Before the Kathrani could recover, Vance spoke again. Her voice filled every ship on both sides. "That was a demonstration. The next shot will be less surgical. You have 30 seconds to comply." Krenix watched the crippled Kathrani flagship with new eyes. If the humans could do that to the enemy, they could do it to him. "War Master," his weapons officer said. "Our sensors detected the human weapon. It used some kind of phasing technology. Our shields are completely useless against it." Krenix closed his eyes. For the first time in his life, he faced an enemy he could not defeat through strength alone. "Power down weapons," he ordered quietly. His officers gasped. The War Master of the Vorix Collective was surrendering. "War Master, the Council will." "The Council is not here," Krenix interrupted. His voice was heavy with exhaustion. "They do not see what I see. Power down. Now." Across the battlefield, Drathos watched the Vorix ships going dark. If his enemy could surrender, so could he. Pride meant nothing if his entire fleet was destroyed. "Stand down all weapons," he commanded. The words tasted bitter, but he spoke them anyway. Within minutes, both fleets had complied. Thousands of guns went silent. Missile systems locked themselves. The battlefield that had been a hurricane of death became calm. Captain Vance allowed herself a small breath of relief. She had not wanted to destroy anyone today. But she would have if necessary. That was what made humans different from other species. They did not bluff. "Open communications with both flagships," she ordered. "And prepare rescue teams for the civilian vessels." The viewscreen split to show both alien commanders. Drathos looked angry and humiliated. Krenix looked tired and confused. Neither looked happy. "Commanders," Vance said with careful respect. "Thank you for standing down. I understand this was difficult." "Difficult?" Drathos snapped. "You have violated our sovereignty. You have interfered in a legal war between two recognized powers. The Galactic Assembly will hear of this outrage." Vance nodded. "They will. And when they do, they will learn that 3 civilian vessels carrying over 10,000 innocent beings were trapped in your crossfire. Both of your fleets received distress signals." Neither responded. Krenix shifted uncomfortably. "War has casualties. This is known." "Children," Vance said quietly. The word cut through the bridge like a blade. "There are 400 Kathrani children on one of those ships. 200 Vorix young on another. They are not soldiers. They are not combatants. They are children." Both commanders went silent. "Terran law is simple," Vance continued. "We do not conquer. We do not expand. We do not seek glory or territory. But we protect the innocent. Always. Without exception. When we detected civilian distress signals coming from this battlefield, we came. That is what humans do." Drathos struggled to find words. "You came all this way, for refugees?" "We came for people who needed help," Vance replied. "Their species does not matter. Their politics do not matter. They needed help. We answered." Krenix stared at the human captain with something new in his ember eyes. Not fear anymore. Something closer to wonder. "The legends say humans are warriors. The legends say humans are dangerous. We are," Vance admitted, "when we need to be. But we would rather save lives than take them. We would rather build than destroy. We would rather heal than harm. That is also what humans do." A long silence followed. Both alien commanders processed words they had never expected to hear from a species they had only known through terrifying stories. Finally Drathos spoke. His voice was softer now. "The children on the Kathrani medical ship. They were from a colony we lost last month. We thought they were dead." "They are alive," Vance said gently. "Frightened and hungry but alive. My medical teams will have them stabilized within the hour." Drathos closed his eyes. For a moment he was not a supreme commander. He was just a Kathrani who had almost let children die because he was too focused on hatred. "Thank you," he whispered. The words clearly cost him everything. Krenix watched his enemy show vulnerability. Something shifted in his ancient warrior heart. The Voryks young, will you save them too? We already are, Vance replied. My people do not choose sides. All innocent lives matter equally to us. Both commanders looked at each other through their view screens. Enemies for 50 years. They had tried to destroy each other countless times. But now, united by shame and gratitude, something changed between them. Perhaps, Krennic said slowly, we should discuss ending this war. Drathos hesitated. Then he nodded. Perhaps we should. Captain Vance smiled for the first time since arriving. This was the real victory. Not disabled weapons or frightened fleets. The two enemies finding common ground through shared humanity, even if neither of them was human. My ship has conference facilities, Vance offered. Neutral ground. If you would like to talk. Both commanders agreed. Hours later, as Kathrani and Voryks diplomats sat together for the first time in half a century, Captain Vance stood at a viewport watching the rescued civilian ships being escorted to safety. Children who had faced death now slept peacefully in human medical bays. Families who had lost hope now embraced each other with tears of joy. Her first officer approached. Captain, the news services are already reporting on this. The whole galaxy is watching. Good, Vance said quietly. Let them watch. Let them see that humans are not monsters from legend. We are guardians. We are protectors. We are exactly what the innocent need when no one else will help. Do you think the peace talks will succeed? Vance considered the question. Maybe. Maybe not. But today we showed both species something important. We showed them that there are things more valuable than victory. We showed them that children matter more than pride. That is a seed. Seeds grow. She turned away from the viewport and headed back to her command chair. There would be reports to file and politicians to satisfy and 1,000 details to manage. But for now, in this moment, she allowed herself to feel proud. Humans had entered a war zone. Humans had stopped a battle. Humans had saved thousands of innocent lives. Not through conquest. Not through destruction. Through something far more powerful. Through compassion. And somewhere in the galaxy, other species heard the story. They whispered about the human ship that appeared from nowhere and demanded peace. They wondered what other legends about humans might be true. And slowly, quietly, the universe began to change. Because humans had reminded everyone of something important. The strongest power is not the ability to destroy. The strongest power is the willingness to protect. The end.